Well, good morning, everybody. Hi. How you doing? An exuberant choir member. For those of you who are here for the first time, or perhaps haven't been here for some time, we have been going through a series called 2012, the Year of Transformation. It ties in with the Mayan calendar that predicts this is a time of revealing, a time of great transformation. And we all know, we all can tell that something great is happening. Your life is speeding up to the point where we cannot maintain our well-being based on the beliefs that we've had in the past. We're called on to change. And that change is not something that we need to go and get, or that we need to buy, or that we need to listen to something. It's a change in consciousness. It calls for us to think differently. Now, a lot of this series has been based on science. And some people might not like science so much, but the beautiful thing about it is that science and spirituality are merging together, and science is proving things that spiritual people have believed in for thousands of years. And primarily, what science is proving is the connectivity or the unity of the human population or of all life on Earth, that we're all connected in some way. Well, the Hopi Indian texts tell us that they believed in the beginning Spider Grandmother cast a web over all creation, connecting all people. In the Buddhist Sutras, it tells of how in the beginning a net in the heavenly abode went out infinite measure in all directions to connect all people. And so we're here today to discover that connectivity, to learn how to unite, to merge into this one life theme for our well-being, because a sense of separation doesn't feel good at times, whether that separation comes as a result of anger or jealousy or self-pity or low self-esteem. It doesn't feel good to be all alone in the world and think that nobody cares. So I want to just take us back to the beginning before we get into the lesson. And the lesson is going to be, in a nutshell, everything we've covered over the last 8 weeks. Very simplified, point by point. But before we do that, let's go back to the very beginning. In the beginning, there was nothing. There was an absence of physical matter. There was infinite void. And then, in a second, there was a big bang. And I just absolutely adore that phrase, Big Bang. Can you think of anything better than the universe beginning with a big bang? I mean, it understates it a bit, because millions of miles were filled with physical matter, and that physical matter was immersed in a sea, so to speak, a cosmic sea of energy. The energy was everywhere present. And these tiny bits of subatomic particles were immersed in that. They were permeated with it. It was in them, and it was all around them. Now, this is the interesting part. Those particles came together and began to congregate. And as they did, they became bigger and bigger in their group until they imploded. They kind of exploded inwardly, and they became an atom. And then the atoms began to congregate together in groups and became bigger and bigger until they became light elements. Well, over 1 billion years, the light elements, the atoms, continued to congregate and get bigger and bigger. It took on a snowball effect until at last you had a star that was formed by all these atoms congregating together. It was called a supernova star, and it was so big that if our sun was the size of a golf ball, the Earth would be the size of a BB, and this supernova star would be the size of this entire building. It was gargantuan. Well, inside the star, it became so hot, and the star expanded so rapidly that the light elements were basically cooked into heavy elements. Now, a lot of this doesn't make any difference, but in the long run, you'll see the connection to it. The stars became so big that they exploded, spewing their enriched ingredients out into the universe. That enriched ingredients had the basic elements for life. It had carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and iron. If the big stars wouldn't have cooked, so to speak, the atoms, if they wouldn't have grown so big they exploded, there would be no life. Life came from the giant supernova stars. You have iron in your blood. That iron came from the supernova stars. And the earth is a collection of the dust from the supernova stars, as is the sun, as are we. We came from stardust 12 billion years ago. Hard to believe? Yes. But that is the evolution of things. Now, all this time, that energy field, that spiritual field, some call it the electromagnetic field, which I believe science has actually proven is God, because it is everywhere present. It is in me, it is in you, it is between us. And the three elements for God, or the three characteristics of God, is that God is omnipotent, all-powerful. There is nothing more powerful than this energy or this spirit. God is omnipresent, which means there's no place where this God spirit, this energy field, is not. And God is omniscient. God, in this field, has all the answers that led to the evolution of subatomic particles to us sitting here today. That is our heritage. Now, today, the electromagnetic field still exists, and that connects us all. Imagine for a moment that we're in a swimming pool. You're on one end, I'm on the other end, and somebody puts in a light electrical current. You feel the shock, I feel the shock, because we're connected by the water. In that same degree, we are connected by this electromagnetic field, by this spirit, and that is everywhere around us. Now, the United States has two satellites, one in the northern hemisphere and one in the southern hemisphere. And the primary purpose of these satellites are to measure the electrical field, or the electromagnetic field around the Earth. The Earth has an energy, a field that envelops it. And they had one satellite in the north, one satellite in the south. Every 30 minutes, somebody went in and monitored where that energy level was. Well, they went in at one point in time to measure where it was, and it had taken an unprecedented spike upward. And they were baffled. They had no idea what would cause this. Well, they later found out that that spike happened 15 minutes after the Twin Towers were attacked on 9/11. And they discovered that the energy field is actually a field of consciousness. Human consciousness affects it, and when a mass of people focuses on a single thing, that energy shifts, whether they go downward or upward. There's another organization called the Global Environmental Project, and they have 60 of these very highly sophisticated detectors placed all over the world. These detectors do nothing but measure energy. And they have discovered that when human population shifts and focuses on a single thing, the energy goes up. When Princess Diana died and millions of people mourned, the energy shot up. When the Pope visited Israel, not only Catholics and Jews, but millions of people saw this as a great sign of hope and inspiration. The energy shot up. Last year, there was a World Day of Prayer, where millions of people agreed to get together and pray for peace at exactly the same time. When they did this, the energy field shot up. So what does this tell us? It tells us two things. First of all, we have this energy, this spirit within us. Second of all, that's what connects us to the energy field or the spiritual field of the earth. And we as human beings have the ability to change that. If we get a certain mass of people to pray for a peaceful world to the point where the energy goes up and does not come back down because it becomes a consistent thought, we will get to a point where war and battle and killing becomes obsolete. It is no longer an option. And that's one of the great transformations that we're heading to as we move into the future. It's that we can control the environment, the emotional environment of the earth. Now, over the last 8 weeks, we've talked a lot about this transformation, and so I'm going to go back to the very beginning and just take the steps through. Many of you have heard this. Please bear with me. When we get to the end, there will be a point to it all, I promise. Okay, from this point, I'm taking it personally. And I'm going to shift that personal aspect down to you. I'm going to talk about you individually. This is the truth about you, believe me. You're born into this world. Anybody disagree? At some point in time, you're going to leave this world. Your life will be completed. You come into the world, you leave the world. Between the beginning and the end, there is a line, a timeline. You call it your lifetime. You get to spend that time, and you can choose to spend it the way you want, or you can let other people choose how you're going to spend it, but it is your time. Now, the great majority of the time that you have, you spend interacting with life. And that interaction is a form of engaging yourselves in earthly activity and then reacting to it. That gives you the emotional experience that you have. We all do that. The greatest bulk of our time is interacting with life. Now, when we engage in an activity, we perceive what is going on with our senses, our sensory power in our brain. We think about what is going on with our thinking power in our brain. We define what is going on, and then we determine how we feel about it. And that gives us the emotional experience. We do this day in and day out, sometimes without even thinking about it. We just engage in an activity, we perceive it, we think it, we feel it, we move on. Some situations and circumstances we take great offense to. We perceive what's going on, we think about it, we get angry, and we feel very badly about it. Somebody has deceived us or hurt us or done something to betray us. So with this consciousness, we go through life interacting with what is going on. Now, when we move into a situation or circumstance, because time has speeded up and everything is happening so rapidly, we don't have time to stop and truly think, what does this mean? So we draw on what we call a circle of influence. And that is all the thoughts, the feelings, the attitudes, and the perceptions that we have collected over our lifetime that tell us who we are, what we are, how the world is. It's like our counsel, so to speak. And we turn to the counsel and say, this is what's happening, what do I think? The circle of influence puts forth an action or a reaction based on how you've acted or reacted in the past. If you've taken offense by other people in the past in a very light and easy way, then that's the way it'll continue to be in the future. So we have these three functions of consciousness that allow us to navigate through life. However, we have a fourth function of consciousness, which is the intuitive mind, and that is beyond the past. It doesn't deal with earthly knowledge. It doesn't deal in fear. The only purpose for the intuitive mind is to direct us in a way that's absolutely the best for us in that moment and going forward in the future. Now, this particular power, the intuitive power, is not in our brain, but rather it's in our heart. 20 years of research have discovered that the heart has a mind of its own, the heart has a nervous system of its own, the heart sets the rhythm for the entire body, and the heart is also the seat of the electromagnetic field. It sends that energy out through the entire body. The brain is simply electrical. The heart is electromagnetic, or that is the spiritual heart or the center of our spirit. Now, Jesus said, how amazing it is that the body came into existence for the spirit. And how amazing it is that the spirit came into existence for the body. We are spiritual beings and we are physical beings. And the two aspects of our being, the spiritual and the physical, come together. They join together. They merge to give us balance and to give us harmony and to give us centeredness. When we engage the heart, that brings the spiritual aspect of ourselves forward. And the key at this point in time, because we rely so heavily on the brain to determine our emotional experience, is to create a communication between the two. It's not do away with the brain and strictly go into the heart, but is bring a balance to the two. You know, our little character in the front of the bulletin is trying to do that. He's on a teeter-totter, trying to balance the heart with the brain. When we turn to the heart, we will always get an answer or a direction that is not in verbiage form, but it is in emotional form. Everybody here knows there's been times when you've been experiencing something, perhaps it's holding a cute little puppy or looking at a sunset, and you're totally overwhelmed with emotion, with gratitude, with happiness, but there's not a lot of words to go with it. When you hold a puppy, you might think, this is cute. But the feeling that you're having at that time is just like an overwhelming good feeling, way beyond the 3 words, this is cute. And so when we bring the intuitive mind up to the brain and create this communication, we develop a more centered way through life. Now, the brain's initial objective or responsibility was to collect information, perceive what's going on around, compare, contrast, collect information, and then bring it back to the intuitive mind. This is what I've discovered. Direct me on how to act. And the intuitive mind would direct the person, or if you're an intuitive person, it directs you on what to do that is the very best for you, does not have a negative result on anybody else, and will wave into the future with a continued good response. As an example, I get an email from an acquaintance, and she tells me that this particular person has been saying all sorts of bad things about me. Immediately, I become outraged. How could this person say these bad things about me? I thought that she was my friend. I not only get outraged, but I want to retaliate. So I sit down to write an email back, and I'm going to tell this no good, backstabbing, should have been, would have been, could have been friend exactly what I think. And so I rattle it off, and I press send before I really probably should have pressed send, and off it goes. I don't get a response, but I am fuming. I don't feel good, and I don't like it. Time goes on. The next day, I'm feeling a little better, but there's still that little dis-ease within me about this person. Weeks go by, I've kind of forgotten about it, but reminded about it occasionally, and that little sick feeling of dis-ease is still there. All of a sudden I go someplace, there she is across the room. How dare she invade my territory? I cannot stand her. She's the one that said all this bad stuff about me. I immediately leave the restaurant where I see her. A year later, her name comes up in a conversation. I don't like it. That same little sick feeling comes up. That is utilizing the perceiving, and get the email, I perceive what it says, I think that dirty, no good so-and-so, I feel horrible about it, and I initiate this stream of energy or of thought that carries forward, and it has this horrible effect on me. Now then, advancing that, we take the intuitive mind and we put that between the perceiving and the thinking. Now I get the email, whole different way of thinking. I get the email, I perceive what it says, I turn to intuitive mind. What should I do about this? Intuitive mind says, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and just let it be. Focus your attention on the people that really reward you, on the people that love you. There's always going to be people that are going to step on your toes. Move or shift your consciousness to the good in your life. Bless the person, forgive the person, and don't think another thing about it. Do that, it's over. I see the person, has no effect on me. I think about the person, bless them. Shift my attention to somebody who I really love and who really loves me. Now, do you see the difference there? Now, many of you might have come in here today with a certain problem or a challenge that you're facing, and if you try to think it through in your mind using your past experience or your history as direction, you're going to find yourself running around in circles because whatever answer comes up won't be adequate enough to allow you to settle down and really feel a sense of well-being. So when that happens, we take a deep breath and we close our eyes, we think of the problem, and we shift our attention to something that really makes us feel good, something that happened in the past, something that might be going to happen in the future, something that is a beautiful part of our life, and we just focus on that. At the same time, as you move into this, you can ask yourself a question. What am I to do with this? How should I react? And in meditation, in the silence, maybe tomorrow or the next day, an answer will come to you. This is the perfect solution. It's engaging the intuitive heart. And in doing this, we're certainly not throwing out everything we've learned thus far, but we're bringing that balance to our lives that is so important in establishing not only the high energy levels within ourselves, but also in the world around us. I talked earlier how the heart is the seat of this spirit and this energy, and that energy can be detected within us. It even can be detected up to 10 feet outside of us. Sitting here right now, you might feel my energy somewhere or another. I can feel your energy if I focus on it. And the heart mind is 100 times stronger than the brain in our head. It is the greatest asset we have, and that's all part of this 2012 age, is to reveal the power of the heart and how the heart and our heart consciousness can change the world. So as we get ready to move into meditation, just think about you and think about your life. If there's anything that's bothering you, put your attention on it for a moment. And as we go through meditation, we're going to shift into the intuitive mind and move forward to a greater sense of balance in the meditation. Now, as we move into meditation, take a moment to take a deep breath and slowly exhale. And for a moment, focus on your breathing. And feel the breath coming in and going out of your heart. You breathe in, you breathe out. And you move your attention to the heart. The slower you breathe, the slower your thoughts and feelings become. And if you're facing a difficult time, just take a moment to ask yourself a question. Don't expect an immediate answer. Just ask yourself perhaps what to do, how to feel, where to go. Now call forth in mind something that is very, very beautiful in your life. It might be a child, a grandchild, a pet. It might be the beautiful day outside, the last sunset you experienced, or the full moon. Could be a wonderful flower garden. Anything that makes you feel deeply appreciative, deeply moved by its beauty. And just focus on that for a moment or two. The beauty of your life. We're a great part of this 14 billion year story that has led us from the Big Bang to where we are now. It's encoded in us. We are brilliant beyond measure. We know how to do life and how to evolve our lives. And one of the greatest treasures we have is being able to see beauty in and around us.
And we slowly begin to come back to this time and this place. As we do, we bring that feeling of great gratitude and appreciation with us. We hold the vision of something beautiful in our mind. And as I speak these words, please make them your own and say them back to yourself. I wish myself well. I wish myself happiness. I wish myself free of all suffering. And pull to mind a certain person in your life that you have a great deal of affection for. And say, I wish them well. I wish them happiness. I wish them free of all suffering. And now pull to mind the entire population of the earth. Every person without judgment. And say, I wish them well. I wish them happiness. I wish them free of all suffering. And gradually come back to this time and this place with a renewed sense of energy, optimism, greater attention on the beauty of the earth. And so it is.
Sweet heavenly dove, stay right here with us, filling us with your love. And for these blessings we lift our hearts in praise. Without a doubt we'll know we have been revived when we shall leave this place.
Thank you.